The global dairy industry is about $720 billion. And did you know with its current growth rate, it's going to surpass the oil industry as its largest polluter by 2050? Actually, it's responsible for 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, and its livestock waste is a large contributor for diseases like E. coli and Salmonella. Hi, this is Takatoshi Shibayama, the host of the Future Design Podcast. Today I have Max Rye, Chief Strategist of Turtletree Labs, a company that uses stem cells to reproduce milk instead of relying on animals. He tells us how the technology is redesigning the whole industry, solving the issues I mentioned earlier, and increase food security, relying less on global logistics to source our food. So stick around to the end. So I had Shook Meats on our episode a couple of episodes ago, and I've been really interested in about the sustainability of our planet. And animal cruelty has been a big issue for many years because we depend so much on animals for protein sources. Or food dependency really relies on animals. And now that you are creating something called a lab grown dairy product, which is on milk, and you also create infant milk as well, which is really surprising to me because we've all heard about plant-based meat, cell-based meat, but I never heard of milk grown from stem cells. So could you take us through of what you guys are building at the moment, and really like to know like why you got into this industry?
First of all, thanks, Taka. I appreciate you inviting us to discuss this. But one more thing that I guess you can latch onto some of those sustainability and cruelty-free things is food security, especially in countries like Singapore. This COVID-19 issue and this pandemic has really highlighted that. So this is another angle, another benefit of having the ability to control your food sources and your food supplies, right? So it's quite exciting that we are able to be a part of that journey. Now, when you talk about what's the difference between these plant-based, the cell-based milks and dairies that are out there, it's quite significant because up until now, what we've been able to do is we've been able to replicate fluid milk, right? So we see almond milk or oat milk and all these different things. So they can kind of look like milk and even replace fluid milk. But the dairy industry is actually bigger than any other food industry out there, food sector out there, $700 billion industry. And most of that is not the fluid side. It's everything else. It's cheese, it's butter, it's cream, ice cream, for example, and anything else that requires real raw milk to start from. And that has really been the challenge to really make that transformative change globally. I think the fluid side is really um, well addressed by these plant-based products. But what we really want to be able to do is handle all of the rest, which is a majority of the existing dairy industry. And using cells, what's exciting is what we're able to do is replicate the same process that happens inside of the human body or inside of a cow or inside of any other mammal that's out there. And we're doing this in the lab. Our goal long term is to be able to have giant bioreactors that can be placed any part of the city, any part of the world, and you can have access to fresh milk. That's what's really cool. And that milk would be able to do all of those same things that real milk can do, which is be able to make cheese and butter and all of those other things.
Yeah, the people at the Shook Meats explained to me how they use stem cell technology to create meat from taking cells from the body parts. But in terms of milk, how do you actually take stem cells of milk or maybe some other body parts of the cow and then make the milk itself?
Good question. For us, it's very non-invasive. We can actually take cells even from fresh milk itself.
Wow.
Even fresh dairy, yeah, fresh milk from any mammal, for the first few hours that milk is expressed, there's actually cells in there that you can isolate and extract. And then those can be your working cells you start off from. So it's very cool. We don't actually have to take this from a dead animal or so forth.
So that means that even for breast milk for humans, you can take a particular person's breast milk and then take the stem cell from that and reproduce the same milk using that stem cell.
That's right. We can actually do that, which is what's very exciting about this technology.
Wow, that's something that maybe even mothers all over the world can do, because now everybody's expressing their milk and taking so much time out of their lives. Some people are working, some people are not, but it does take a huge chunk of the mother's time to express milk. I remember my wife was always locked up in a room doing work and then pumping at the same time, or I had mothers who are business partners or associates come into work expressing while they're working or doing meetings. So it'll completely change the dynamics of how mothers can continue providing breast milk for their children while continuing their social life as well.
You're absolutely right, Taka. One thing that I do want to emphasize, something that is very important for the Turtletree team in our vision, we want to continue encouraging breastfeeding. That is something that is very important to us. We have regular discussions with KK Hospital. They have an amazing milk bank here and a lot of education around breastfeeding. So we want to be more of a complementary type of a product when it comes to that. We do not want to get in a situation where we are encouraging mothers to use this type of technology, this type of milk over breastfeeding itself, which is still by far the best thing for every baby out there.
For sure. When I had our two sons as well, we've been emphasized by the hospitals many times over that skin to skin is something that babies really need because of the proximity to their mothers, and they feel the warmth from their bodies, that gives them the comfort of being alive and being taken care of. So I totally
Mm.
understand where you're coming from. And the
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. An area where you can see us making a major impact, though, would be what about existing infant formula? It's a $45 billion industry and it's going to double in the next 5 years. How about maybe using this technology to make whatever's out there a better product, a more nutritious product, something that can help babies all over the world and children all over the world. So these are different areas where we can make a major impact much earlier than if you look at trying to disrupt mom's breastfeeding.
Yeah. And how do you compare mother's breast milk versus the infant formulas out there currently? I mean, they've
Oh,
enhanced it quite a lot with different types of nutrients. I'm sure it's very different from the mother's breast milk, but could you elaborate a little bit on those differences?
it's a massive difference. First of all, what existing infant formula is, although it's so advanced as it is, it's still bovine powder. It's still cow milk powder, combined with vegetable extracts, a whole bunch of different nutrients that are in there. It's still very, very far from what the real thing is. So there's a major gap. There is so much room for us to get involved, use this type of technology to up that product first. Maybe we can take uh, all of these different components, replace them with human milk type of components, and actually make them better in the beginning as we get closer towards that much larger technology of the human breast milk.
And the biggest question is when it's going to be commercialized. So I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for this product to come out. Uh, I don't think it's just about the infant formula as well. There's a lot of people who enjoy actually drinking cow milk or different type of goat milk
Mm-hmm.
and things who are also lactose intolerant. I'm one of those
Mm-hmm.
people as well. Well, if you take, for me, it's like completely different because I was never raised on breast milk, and I have all these problems when I was a child. I guess back in the 70s, instant formula was not as nutritious as before. So I was drinking infant formula right from birth, and I had asthma, I had constant fevers, and I had all these sicknesses when I was growing up when I was a child, and could have definitely benefited it from the modern infant formulas or these milks as well. But even going after when I was older, I just never really liked milk. Maybe because I never really had that real milk. So, and maybe partially because I'm lactose intolerant as well. But I never really was really big on to milk. But maybe your product can actually change that completely.
That's what we're hoping to do. We definitely want to be. to make it possible for people who are lactose intolerant to have access. Because what's really cool about science and biotech is you can actually turn off some lactose genes, for example, right from the beginning. So the milk that you're producing doesn't even have a lactose in there. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that we can do that, biologically, using the traditional method just wasn't possible. So there's some really cool things we can do. But outside of the infant nutrition area, I mean, there's still the $700 billion industry of dairy itself. What we want to be able to do is make an impact in that area. Using our technology, we want to be able to make dairy products like cheese and butter and cream, all of these different things that everyone loves, everyone consumes every day, but do it in a very different sourcing when it comes to the raw milk itself. So we think that that will also be a very important part of our future offerings. At the moment, although we can do a lot of this in the lab, the work that we are doing is around scale up and how we can get this milk up to 50,000 liter giant bioreactors or so forth. These are the type of cool things that we are working with our partners on. And we have an in-house team of engineers as well that are working around the clock on. Sometime next year, we expect some deals to happen, but the way we go to market is really with our partners. We are not putting a product out there that's exclusively Turtletree Labs milk. So you can expect some of the big dairy giants that are out there and the dairy partners to actually be the ones who put their product on the market using our technology, almost like the Intel Inside model. That's really how we look at making the global transformation that we want to be able to make. So we think that that will still be another 18 to 24 months out based off of when our partners want to go to market with it. But much earlier than that, we're already co-developing some of these products though.
And how hard is it to scale your business? Now, I've asked these questions for other companies that are scaling, not on because they're not software businesses, right? Software business is so easy to scale, but your business requires a lot of scientists. You need a lab. You need to have these containers to create all this milk. I mean, it's a very still pretty bricks and mortar type of business in that sense. So, uh, how does scaling look to you as you grow your business?
You're absolutely right. So we have this transformative technology, something that can change the shape of dairy of the future. How do we not get stuck in a corner of the world trying to build one plant and just cater to a small group of people? That's really why our go-to-market strategy is set up in a way that's very similar to ARM Semiconductors, for example. They're the biggest chip company in the world that doesn't actually make all the chips for the world. We will work with the existing dairy conglomerates. It can be a win-win situation where we can actually be that technology and they can work on the capex side and they have their consumers that they're already catered to and work together to be able to get this product into the market. And we can scale this globally using these partnerships and using a licensing and royalty model. That is how our business teams are working this through. There's still a lot of work to be done in the next several months of how we refine these models, but our scale-up process looks much more like a license-based model where we work with all the big players that are out there and scale together.
And how's creating these milks actually look like? I mean, it will be great if you could share with us some videos on how it's created, and maybe we could talk about that later. But how's the process of making dairy products from stem cells?
So the process is after we isolate these cells, right, these milk producing cells, we are able to expand them in a very traditional way, which is what all the cell-based meat companies do. They expand these cells to a large enough number, but that's where all the similarities end between us and cell-based meat companies. For us, these lactating cells actually become a factory that make milk, and we have another special fluid that is a part of our IP that causes those cells to lactate. And that's, like I said before, we're replicating the entire environment that happens inside of the mammal itself. And the end product itself really is the composition of milk, really what comes out of a cow or outside of a human. Now, there are some things that you cannot replicate in this process, like, for example, the antibodies, which usually come from the mom's blood, not from the breast cells themselves. However, everything else we're able to capture, which is really exciting. And the process is very similar in all the different mammals that we're able to do, that we're able to work with. But yes, that's how it works.
And how long does it take to reproduce a mother's milk? So you have one cell, and then you start to lactate it. How long does it take to actually make one feed of milk?
So if you're talking about customizing the milk from just one mom, we have to go through a very long process. It can take several months. If we are working with a generic cell line that is already been optimized by the team or so forth, it can be a continuous flow system, which is really what we want to be able to do. We're looking at scaling this up, right? It can be a continuous flow. It can take a matter of weeks when we are looking at different types of products.
And would you take just let's say just for cow's milk, would you take one cell from a cow and then just keep reproducing the same ones over and over?
You're absolutely right. Yes, we want to make sure that we identify the best cow, which we've already done last year, go through this very long R&D process, which we had done and still doing, going through it now. But the end result is going to be an amazing cell line that can continuously flow out the type of milk that we're looking to have. And that's really the best way to scale this up.
Do you think in a distant future that this technology can be shared with the world, and for mothers who have problems actually expressing milk, because there are people who could only express a little bit, to help them express more through this technology and try to feed their children?
I can definitely envision a future iteration where that will be possible. It's a very exciting area. What we're this entire cell-based milk space, and I do believe that these type of products you're talking about is something that will be within reach.
Yeah, because I could think about maybe like subscription model where you send in. It's like one of those DNA, companies where they check your DNA and tell you what it is. But this one is like you send your 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 expressed milk to your company or whatever those companies are, and then they send you like on a daily basis or like on a weekly basis all this milk to you so that you can feed your children it. That's kind of something that just popped into my head.
I think that's a brilliant model. And some of the partners that we are working with, if they want to use this technology to set that up, we will be definitely supporting these type of subscription-based models. I think it's exciting. There's going to be so many different models. There's just no only one successful method out there, and we think there's plenty of space for different variations of these models to be successful.
Yeah. And how did you get involved with this project? So, looking through your career, you were academically trained to do these type of things, but you had a different route where you're doing like AI and cloud before, and then you joined this company as well, or co-founded this company. So, could you take us a little bit of journey through how you got into this space?
Yeah, I definitely believe that we're in a time right now where if you are passionate about what you want to be able to do, you can make a shift in your careers, in your in what you want to do in life. For myself, I have been in leadership positions for a very long time. I've been able to bring teams together, lead them, help grow these teams, and focus on the tech space in the past. But I'm very passionate about sustainability and what it takes to reduce these greenhouse gases for many years. But for a long time, I've just been sitting on the sidelines, kind of watching, hoping other people just come in and do something about it. But I got to the point where I had the opportunity. Right, this situation was an opportunity for me to get involved. I met my co-founder when I was giving a talk over at Google HQ, and that was an amazing moment because I know the folks at Memphis and Blue Nalu. They're doing amazing things using cell-based technology, but I didn't see anybody doing the cell-based milk, and I knew there had to be this. This was a great opportunity for me to be involved. So I was able to take all of my skills that I had built up over the years and come together with a team and say, okay, guys, we can do this. Let's bring all of the top scientists on board. And I put $500,000 of my own cash right into this company right from the get-go, and I accelerated. And that's really that was how we started, and this is where we are now. I've learned so much through the months. I've so much, and I'm not afraid to reach out to people who know more than I do and learn from them as well. So, but it's very exciting. It's been a very exciting journey so far.
And what made you really interested in the world of sustainability? And I'm sure there's many reasons why we're in this climate change period where a lot of things are well. What I would like to always say is like I don't like the word climate change. I use the word human extinction because we've done so much to this world. We've taken so much from this world, and we haven't really given back anything. And we've been really selfish about how we've been living on this planet, you know, and using animals, domesticating animals for our own good and all that. So I think what we need to really think about personally, I think, is if you're going to start a business, why not do it for the betterment of society or the planet or things like that, and not just create another social media app or some dating app or whatever. Well, that's my personal goal. But what is that for you?
I could. There was a time in the early 2000s that I watched this movie called Climate Refugees, and I think for me that was like one of my um, a time in my life when I thought, holy cow, we have to do something about these issues, and it impacts people, it impacts entire regions and countries. Um, and that was a time when I really started getting more involved into the space. I think that was around 2007. And since then, I've just followed it very closely. I spoke to a lot of folks about it, but I didn't really get the opportunity to jump in and do something about it until very recently, just a few years ago. And I love it. There's a lot of other books that I read over the years where they go into being able to do business for good, being a part of the circular economy. So I built up the strength to jump into this field over the years. It doesn't happen overnight. But I'm very passionate about it. If anybody who knows me knows that I live and breathe this. This is what I do. All I think about is this. So because I love it.
That's fantastic. And what is next for Turtletree Labs? What's your next step? You recently got funding about $3 million. So what's next for you guys?
For us, it's all about acceleration. As we mentioned right from the beginning, these are my personal skills where I can help my teams to accelerate. So we have multiple teams. Our team is quite large. We have 20 scientists and engineers on board, which is one of the bigger teams in the space. But it's really whatever it takes to get to that next level. And for us, that's really around commercialization. Now we're looking at what does it take, what type of plans, pilot plans we need, where they're going to be placed, who are the partners that need to be involved. So these are all the different things that we are doing as we lead up to Series A.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your mission on building this business out. And I hope, from the bottom of my heart that you guys succeed. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Taka.
Hi, this is your host Takatoshi Shibayama. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Now, if you enjoyed or disliked this show, please let me know by writing in the comment section. The only way I can improve or add value to you is through your voices. If there are any topics that you would like me to pick up, please also let me know in the comments. I'd love to start chatting with you all. And if you would like to continue watching the show, please subscribe. Thank you.